I'm just going to continue on here. A fun little activity, if you want to try a little kind of an inclusion activity, is having it write a newsletter for schools, right? And or a headline. And so sometimes I'll just go to Gemini because most schools are Google Workspace schools, and Gemini is a data private kind of partner. And so if you use Google Workspace with your schools, you can come here to Gemini and you can put in a prompt, something like, please write me an outrageous and funny school newsletter to send out for let's say I'm at Palmyra, that's where I'm at today. Middle school, after the first snowstorm, make sure to incorporate our mascot and Panthers, and like one of our missions is to focus on SEL, and then you can kind of play around with that. I've even seen it create an infographic, like almost like a graphic novel cover for the mascots, and so they get kind of crazy. Some fun ways. If someone wants to try that out while we're talking, you could probably post in the chat. Sometimes it talks about from the principal's desk, the great whiteout of 2025, a survival update, and then it'll talk about, or here is the SEL spotlight, strategic snow day, emotional leverage. So the social emotional learning was unintentionally put to the ultimate test. So fun way to get students engaged, get parents engaged, is to leverage AI for fun little ways like this. I don't know if anyone in the audience has used it to write newsletters, but sometimes it is fun. So feel free to bop in the chat if you want to try that little inclusion activity. And we can share. Oh, it's Kathy. Yes. I always start. Yeah. I don't know why I always say please. And I like how I think it's more polite when we treat it as politely as we would treat real people, because it just gets us in that practice.
Do the same thing. I just think it's funny that you did it too.
So that is, we'll check back on the chat if anyone wants to try that out, but we have a lot to cover. So I'm going to just keep on. Another thing that I would love for you to share in the chat is maybe an impactful use, a strategy you have used that has been impactful. How have you used AI and found it very powerful, or maybe heard of someone using it in a very powerful and impactful way, either personally or work related? So please share out if you would, or if you want to put a way that you have tried it and seen it working, but you just don't like it, and you probably won't use it for that purpose again. So I've also heard negative stories where educators are using it and they're not finding it useful, so they're probably not going to use it for that reason. Social stories, Liz put in the chat, very helpful for writing social stories. Mary said IEP goals and breaking things down, suggestions for sensory to provide phone call. Oh, for emergency situations, it can speak to the student, a real life experience in a safe setting. I love that. I recently will share one impactful story. I had a teacher say that personally they're using it to help with their dad who has Alzheimer's, and they created a bot that can ask questions about when the dad's behavior is a certain way. They can ask it what stage of dementia is that, or Alzheimer's is that. How do they talk to him about it? How do they tell the family on how to deal with it? The mom is in denial, so it kind of gives them tips on how to kind of work with the mom. AAC users to focus on participation with grade level content work. Nice. Thank you, Tessa. All right, so our roadmap for today is going to be looking at, even though I'm not going to talk about what it is and how it works, and I'm not going to spend too much time on AI literacy and ethics, I do like to always throw in a little bit of that ethical conversation around issues associated with this very powerful technology. We're going to talk about the need for student AI literacy and some guidelines that we can provide. But really, I want to spend most of the time looking at tools that are helping educators universally design for their students in ways that it can be used to enhance the engagement, support those modes of representation, and introduce options for expression. Now, I would say typically we are going to use it to leverage AI so that we can craft emails, design rubrics, write learning intentions, and success. Those are just kind of productivity and efficiencies. And I cross that off. We really want to focus on that scaffolding and provide students with modifications or accommodations. We want to create inquiry-based sessions, innovative and other innovative ways. We're going to look at some exemplars. We may even break into some teams and some breakout sessions and look at ways, some exemplars on how we could modify those in our own settings, and then maybe even share out at the end. Hopefully we'll have some time for that as well. So that's kind of our path, our roadmap for this hour. And I just want to say, wherever you're at on this, I love this graphic. This continuum, right? Wherever you're at on this continuum, whether you're using it every day and you feel empowered and you're designing lessons that are reimagined learning, or if you're still kind of a little bit skeptical, it's fine wherever you're at, right? Hopefully we're all growing and learning this technology together, and we're supporting each other along the way. And so I know that many districts are on, different kind of how far along they are in using AI. Some districts are still blocking it for teachers, and some districts are wide open and already have purchased a program and even starting to get students using it. So it doesn't really matter where you're at. And again, feel free to jot down any questions you have in the chat. And I think Stacy and Kathy are monitoring the chat. So if you have any questions as I go along, or just go ahead and unmute and go ahead and ask as well. I'm always open for questions. This is a very deep topic, and some people are very passionate about what they believe about AI and how they're using it and how it's being used in schools and with educators they work with. So I love this definition of AI literacy because it really, and this was made by, it was presented from code.org and Teach AI at a presentation, but it really combines a bunch of different draft definitions from different international organizations. But it really, AI literacy in its sense is just basically that technical knowledge, the durable skills, the future-ready attitudes required to thrive in a world that is being hugely influenced by AI. And if we really want our students to engage with it and create with it and be able to manage it and critically evaluate it, I think we need AI literacy, and as well as giving the students the AI literacy so that they can balance the risks versus the opportunities, know that there are ethical implications, there are biases out there, and how are they going to benefit from it? Is it really helping them, or is it actually hurting their critical thinking or their ability to process information? So I look at that as being a nice, thorough way to look at how both students need it, and we as educators who are supporting those students are going to need a very thorough AI literacy training. And when we think about it in its basic core aspect of of AI is we're hoping that there's a partnership, right? That it's not going to be us versus AI. We're hoping it's not going to take our jobs as educators, but that we are going to partner with it and use it as a co-pilot, right? We're going to use it to handle the tedious, mundane tasks that can process tons of information and analyze tons of data for us and compile tons of research for us, but that we will hold that human edge to be able to critically analyze it. We have ethical judgment. It cannot replicate those things. We have emotional intelligence that it's not ever going to be able to have. So we look at it as a partnership, and we're just using it as a tool, as a co-pilot, as a thought partner kind of situation. And it's never going to replace some things, right? It's never going to replace us as educators helping students feel a belonging and helping students feel that trust and to build that trust with them and that build that self-esteem for our students. Those are certain things it's not going to replace, because it's basically just generating content from algorithmic formulas. It's just that we've created all its content, and humans are creating the prompts, and humans are creating the kind of the situation that when it's going to be used and how it's going to be used. And AI is just generating responses based on what we input into it. So, AI is not going to be able to ever replace us. So I always like to say when we are going to be working with AI today, is whatever is sacred to you in your role, whatever's, whatever you find value in, that's what you should keep doing, right? We want to hold that curiosity and empathy and integrity up at the top of our role, but we are serving constituents that sometimes we might need to leverage it. And you're going to be working in teams. We're starting to see this all over, that teams are kind of struggling. There's some tension because some people like to use AI in one facet and one kind of role, and other people like to use it in a different way. And so sometimes people aren't understanding, well, why would you use AI for that? I value our time together, and can we just not use it for that? And other people, so I'd like to look at it as like process versus planning, right? I love processing with my colleagues and wanting to kind of talk things out. And then once I get that out there, then I like to use AI to kind of plan and organize those thoughts. Whereas other people, they like to use AI to kind of get some ideas, and then they like to, once they've got a few ideas that they really are sold on, then they like to really plan that out with their colleagues. So that there's going to be some ethical gray areas of how it's being used and when it's being used. And I think that's important for groups to start working on those community agreements. Like when are we going to use this and how should we use this might be a conversation that you and your circles, your professional circles might need to have in the near future. And I also like to say that we need to, as educators and working with this, need to be very cautious. We don't want to be irresponsible, but we also don't want to be negligent either and just turn our heads to using this, because there are some very powerful, positive ways that it's being used, and it would be almost negligent not to use it. And I kind of refer to the medical field, and if it's being used by doctors, they say that doctors are maybe 90% accurate of finding maybe a tumor, and AI might be 88% accurate, but a doctor and an AI working in tandem, collaboratively, they are 92% accurate. Would it be then negligent not to use it? And the same goes true for education. If a district purchases a tool that can really help struggling readers or can help identify dyslexia, would it be negligent for certain teachers to not use it because they just don't believe it's the right thing to do? Is that then being negligent? So we talk about keeping what's sacred, and then using it when maybe for those things that aren't that important to us, like maybe some people just don't like doing a whole bunch of data data analysis, and it can do that process that. And then you have to I would rather look over that analysis and say, does that sound right? Anyway, so what are you using it for? I always said, if you are using it to complete tedious tasks to free up time so you can connect with your students and build more relationships, that's a great way to use it, right? I think there was a statistic recently that said teachers are using it to save almost 15 minutes a day. So at the end of the week, they've saved up 75 minutes they've gotten back that they can either connect with colleagues and collaborate. They can build relationships with students. That's an amazing use of a tool to free up that time. Are you leveraging it to make your lessons more personalized, more accessible, more engaging, more relevant? Are you more efficient? Then you have less burnout and you're more effective. You have more energy. I highlighted this bullet. If I were going back, one of my weaknesses was providing rapid feedback. Some people are using it to give rapid cycle feedback about students, like their work. And for me, I was always coaching and always doing weekend things. And it was hard for me to get my students' projects back to them with the rubric and feedback. And then we would move on to the next unit, and the students just kept on asking me, have you graded it yet? Have you graded it yet? And by then they've already moved on, right? And so today we're going to talk about, are we enhancing critical thinking and the actual learning experiences for the students using it? So hopefully we'll talk about those at the end. Now, going into a little bit of the ethics, we're going to break off into breakout rooms. I think Stacy's going to open those up in a second. But when we talk about the ethical implications and the responsible use of a powerful tool like AI, I always like us to think about these things that are happening. A lot of times we focus on the tip of the iceberg, right? Up at the top, a lot of school districts are just mainly afraid of the academic integrity and the cheating, and the students are going to cheat, but they were cheating before, right? And cheating's been going on, probably since school started. So I don't know if that's one of the major concerns I think about but some of these other ones below the surface are starting to creep up. So I would like you guys to go into breakout rooms and look at this, these lists and have a discussion of which one catches your eye most and then why, and have a brief discussion if that's okay.